What's going on, everyone? Just the Buzz here. If you're new to the channel, I make Charlotte Hornets content. So if that interests you, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. I just crossed the 1,400 threshold, and I couldn't do that without y'all hitting the subscribe button, liking the videos, sharing the videos, commenting on the videos. So I just want to take a quick second and thank you for all of that. And what a video we have for you today. If you cannot tell by the thumbnail title of this video, in today's video, we're going to be talking about PJ Washington re-signing to the Charlotte Hornets on a 3-year deal for $48 million. And honestly, that is the best case scenario when it comes to a deal being worked out for PJ. And I'm going to tell you why. First thing first, the deal's not long. It's 3 years. That's nothing. That's this upcoming season. And then automatically, he only has 2 seasons left. Very tradable deal if for whatever reason he wants to be traded. And also if the relationship were to sour, team were to not go in the direction that we're hoping for, it once again, easily tradable deal, also not a long deal. So it's not like they're stuck with him for 5 years or something like that. No, it's literally as soon as this next season is over, that deal can be a tradable deal. If for whatever reason the Hornets want to get rid of PJ, they can go ahead and do that. It's not going to be an impossible deal to move, especially considering what other people are making. And speaking of what other people are making, that roughly ends up around $16 million a year, which I saw people say that's still an overpay. Now, granted, it was reported, which we never heard from PJ or his representation, from them specifically, but it was reported that PJ wanted around $20 million. I thought that was an overpay, but I did feel like, where are we going to get the replacement from? That was kind of just like my biggest concern is, yes, I completely understand. I think 20 million was an overpay, but there was nowhere we could look to find that replacement. JT Thor still has a ways to go. And other than that, Kai Jones, I just don't see it at all. So where are we going to get it for a team that is not known to go and make big trades or anything like that? I just didn't see it. So I was like, maybe we have to buy into the 20. And the Hornets didn't feel as though PJ was worth that just because of the fact that, and some of it's not his fault necessarily, but still, I do get it. The Hornets felt like, hey, 20 million is like maybe some for upper echelon players, guys who can come out there and get their own bucket, create for themselves. Not something PJ is prone to doing, even though he can do it, but that's obviously not the most important part of his game or the best part of his game. So when you look at what other players around the league are making, I think 16 million for PJ is not bad at all, especially considering who else is making that much. And that's one thing people have to understand is there's 2 things you got to look at when you're looking at deals across the NBA. You got to look at the player position specifically. So align him up with other power forwards, maybe other big wings, something like that. See what they're making compared to him. And then also just players in general. New players that have signed contracts. You have to look at that because PJ obviously signing a new contract. Who are some players who just recently signed a contract for around that much? And what were they worth? It's really, at some point, it doesn't become, hey, we're the Charlotte Hornets and this is what we think you're worth. You can't be mad at PJ for wanting to get at least what people on the market were getting, if that makes any sense. And speaking of that, there are a few players I would like to name because, like I said, I saw a lot of people saying, holy overpay. Whether you think that's an overpay or not, if you look at the market of the NBA, it literally can't be. Because like I said, I'm about to read you some of the names and I'm gonna let you decide just based on the names I read. All right, so before I read off these names, I do want to mention that there is like qualifications that I had, and the qualifications are simply they had to make anywhere between $14 to $17 million, and also they had to have at least 3 years left on their deal. So from this upcoming season and then 2 years after that was the qualifications. And so with those qualifications, here are the players I came up with: Max Strus, Luguentz Dort, Kevin Herter, Mitchell Robinson, Rui Hachimura, Kevin Porter, Yusuf Nurkic, and Harrison Barnes. Now, I know you look at this list and think, hey, those guys play different positions. These guys are in different, like if you look at the Kevin Porter deal, it was like a lot of like options and just, contract mumbo jumbo. But at the end of the day, the money is the money. And when you look at this list, who is better than PJ on this list? And if they are, it's not by much. So if you look at these guys, what are they going to do for the next 3 years? Is it really that different from PJ? I think the biggest one would probably be Luguentz Dort. I'm a big Lou Dort fan. I know a lot of people, obviously in Oklahoma, are a big Lou Dort fan. I know that a lot of people around the NBA also are Lou Dort fans. So Lou Dort, I can give it to you. But everybody else, if you say they're better than PJ, which is fine, it's not about if they're how much better than him. It's just it's not by much. So therefore, you can understand, oh, this is where PJ's market is. He's in this category of players. Yes, it does not matter if he's at the top of the category or at the bottom of the category. If he's in the category, he deserves to get paid as such as those players. So that's why I think that it's just really not an overpay. I get it. You may not value PJ that much, but the market was screaming for it. And if the Hornets wanted to keep him, they would have to pay him at least that market. So good job for them for not overpaying. I think and then it's not a long deal. I know I said that earlier, but it's not at all. So I don't think if you're the Hornets, you're looking at this, and if it doesn't pan out, which you would know really fast, because I think at this point, outside of Terry and Gordon, we have a little bit of the core. We want to see what Brandon Miller does and kind of know where to slot him. But we basically have the core of what we want going forward. So I don't think that there's too much to change. So you can tell really fast, hey, does PJ fit in his core or not? If not, we can trade him. And I think that's the beauty of this deal. And not to mention, I think PJ fits so well with this team, though, because you have Miles Bridges, who's going to be back. We know he's a point of attack player. And also, we'll get to this, but them signing PJ is also, I feel like, a sign to a 3-year deal at that is a sign that, hey, we're going to run it back. We're going to re-sign Miles Bridges. Don't worry about it. It's literally just a matter of the money. I think that's what you get when you're re-signing PJ. You don't re-sign PJ and think you might lose Miles, because Miles is your second best player. So if you lose Miles, all this just goes to the wayside. So I think that if you sign a PJ to a long-term deal, I say long-term, but, extra 3 years, then I think it's pretty confident to say that this team is more than likely going to bring Miles back. For what money? That's what the season is for. I don't think this qualifying offer thing was because, they don't want to keep him. They're going to keep him. It's just what is the penny? How much is it? We'll see. But anyway, like I was saying, you have Miles Bridges, who really, he is the one to attack the basket. Therefore, there's no reason to have a Mark Williams and PJ Washington sitting in the basket, or someone like, PJ sitting under the basket. No, PJ can stretch the floor, move PJ out to the corner, have him be efficient in those corner threes, because Miles Bridges attacking the basket is going to set PJ up. Miles Bridges attacking the basket is going to set a lot of people up, and we know Miles is actually not that bad of a playmaker, so he can get it to PJ, get it to LaMelo, get it to Terry. I think that it worked out very well because PJ does fit that mold, even though technically the only position he can play is the 4. Then you also got to look at it from the defensive end, which I think is the biggest. That's what we would have missed the most if he were to leave. And that is, he can guard 3 through 5, essentially. It does depend on who the 3 is. Obviously, you don't want someone who moves, often without the ball. But for the most part, you're not mad if PJ gets switched on to most 3s actually in the league. So I think that his defensive presence is going to be big. We saw him, I wouldn't say shut down Giannis. I know that that's like something we like to use, the joke, especially with last year being such a down year. But we saw last year that he put a lot of pressure on Giannis. Yes, I think Giannis came back and played very well, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I got the games mixed up, but PJ did a pretty good job that one game against Giannis. So I like to take our chances. We have that guy who can guard those bigger wings, guard those bigger forwards without having to waste energy on, all right, now do we have to put Brandon Miller on him, a rookie? Why would we do that? Do we have to put Miles Bridges on him and take away how much he can give us on the offensive end? It's like PJ is that glue guy to kind of hold this team together to let everybody else do what they do best. And I think that is where the value really comes from. It doesn't come from his shooting percentage. Yes, that's going to matter. It's going to have to be better. But as far as like his shooting, his points, I'm not worried about that. His assists, I'm not worried about that. Steals and blocks, not really worried about that either, even though I know I talked about his defense. I am worried about his rebounding. I do think I would like for him to rebound more, but this team, we see time and again that they're just a team rebounding team. That's just how they operate. It's not this one guy who's going to get all the rebounds, but we do have Mark Williams now who's going to, hold it down. And we also have Nick Richards, who's one of the best offensive rebounders in the league, statistically, at least according to last year. So I feel a little better about it, but I do want his rebounds to get up. But overall, when you have a guy that is able to play just such a role that allows everyone else to kind of do other stuff, that is important. If you have a guy like PJ who's able to guard and shoot corner threes, and we don't have to worry about Miles shooting threes all the time, even though that obviously you want to see that develop his game, and we've seen that he can at times. We know what he's best at. PJ allows him to do that. Same we're going back with defense. We don't have to rush Brandon Miller to be like, hey, can you guard these bigger wings because we need Miles to focus on offense? No, we have PJ for that. Brandon Miller can focus on developing everything else. His shooting. I mean, his shooting's already, I think, pretty good, but just other things that a rookie needs to worry about. That is the beauty of having someone like PJ Washington on your team. So yes, I understand that a $16 million may seem like it's too much, but when you think about what is able to do for the people around him just because of the role he plays, it's hard to ignore, and it's hard to say that, we're paying him too much. Is because he's able to let our other players do what they do best, and I think that's what's the key. LaMelo is the key to all of this. So if PJ guarding certain people is able to let LaMelo focus on offense and run on the breaks with Miles Bridges where no one can really catch up with us, then I'm all for it. I don't care how many blocks he has. I don't care how many steals he has. It doesn't have to necessarily be counting stats. It's just essentially what are we seeing on the floor? And what we see on the floor with a full healthy team is that the other players are able to focus on other things, which really elevates our team. And they don't have to worry about, oh, well, now we have to pull LaMelo doing something he doesn't typically do, or pulling Gordon and make him play additional minutes. And we know he's injured. Like, it's just PJ is the perfect glue guy for this team, and I'm glad we have him back.